Welcome back to the artist always known as Alejandro. Rounding out my mighty monsters. Yes, this is my crew of superpowered monsters doing their best to uphold truth, justice, and the non-creepy way, or some such like that. This one has two of my characters. I figured I'd lump them together because one of them is really small, and why not? So we have Mummy Man. Real original name there, Alejandro. It's stuck. I don't know what else to call him. So he's Mummy Man. And with him is the Maggot. You know, the Fly. The Fly was a horror creature. So why not go the opposite way and make the Maggot? But first I started with Mummy Man. And I had this concept of him shooting some of his bandages from his fingers towards the camera. Like his fingers pointing towards, so I wanted that imagery. I was coming along. I did my box for the face, just kind of mapping it out. So, just getting this kind of stance. I kind of wanted him rushing towards, like leading a charge, going into battle. Just breaking his body into little shapes. I wanted him to be kind of running, extending that arm out. This is all from my head. I have no photo reference. I was just playing around with this just to see what would come about here. And that's what I have thus far. I'm filling in the shapes of the arms, just those little blocks, and trying to make him a little bulkier. You know, he may be mummy, but he's not. He's not going to be like this whole mummy that's been sitting in a crypt for centuries. That's kind of thin and grotesque. Now the maggot, it could just be this little maggot-shaped guy. I give him arms and legs, so he's not completely this slithery thing. And of course, a little face I'm going to throw in there. But just mapping out the outlines here. All right, moving right along. It's time to do some penciling. So I go with my gray. I think I made the brush a little smaller. And I figured his arm might be back a little bit more, not quite to the side. So just getting that perspective. Trying to just back and forth pencil, back and forth. Obviously, this is still digital, using the stylus. So I'm just mapping out the body. He's a guy. Guys' bodies are kind of simple. Keyword kind of. And I'm charging towards the camera. Obviously, the final result that you see in the thumbnail is not even close. I kept trying with this perspective. I could not seem to, even looking at my own hand, I just could not seem to understand how the index finger lines up. But I just soldier on, as we always do here. Move on, we can fix it later. Just want to get the shapes of what I'm going to work with. Kind of get his eyes. Yeah, he has one of those pupilless eyes. Kept him that way. Kind of like Pyrene. But no relation. He's not Imhotep. In my fight to save the universe, he and a few of the allies he's with are going to be fighting Imhotep and Ankh-Sunamun. And, of course, all the mummies, foot soldiers, and beetles and all that. But I'm tentatively calling him Karis. Karis. Many Universal monster fans will know that Karis was the name that the mummy was given in later films, like The Mummy's Hand and The Mummy's Curse. When other actors played the role, Karloff only did it once. I think Lon Chaney played him in one of those. They are terrible movies. They even put the Mummy in modern day setting, and it's just terrible. And there's the Maggot. I'm tentatively giving him the name Mayo. Mayo the Maggot. It's like, you gonna address me and call him Maggot for the whole adventure? No. He's got a name, Mayo. Does he eat mayo? Maybe. But it could be M-A-O, right? Mayo. I think it's cute. Oh, yeah. I actually had another member of the team called Hunchback, but no. There's no Quasimodo on this team. As of now, he's more human. He's not a monster. He's just a disfigured guy. So here I am. I was playing around with this bandages. That is one of his powers. He can shoot bandages to trap bad guys and whatnot. This I actually abandoned in the final sketch. But for now, that's what we're seeing. Okay, but moving right along. That's how it looks, the pencil face. So I fine-tuned some things in between edits. But this isn't the final one. Still, I just went along with drawing shape of his head, giving him this kind of angry face, wanting to go up against Imhotep and his army. You can do it. Just kind of doing the inking part here. Playing around with that. Remember, you could always erase it. Just narrowing in the eyes. Now, for me, The Mummy from 1999 is one of my favorite movies of all time. I've watched it almost every year. There's something about it, maybe the setting in that 1920s era. Brendan Fraser's a great lead. He's a little goofy but masculine, a little humorous but serious. The movie doesn't take itself too seriously. It's a little horror mixed in with adventure, and it's a nice combination of things that works. And it's just one of the perfect summer movies. You know, good triumphs over evil, and there's some effects may look a little outdated, but I still enjoy the movie. It's just a rollicking good time. You want a little excitement, a little romance, a little humor, a little adventure, a little bit of horror. It's got such a great blend. So I created Mummy Man at the same time I created the other Mighty Monsters back in the 80s. I had no idea about the Mummy movie that would have been coming up in the 90s. Now I've only seen the Mummy Returns sequel. Kind of underwhelming. It's nice to see the cast back together, but the Mummy's Return was very kind of matter-of-factly. Like, oh, that's it? The whole world should have shook when he was revived. But then the Scorpion King, oh my goodness. Now talk about horrible CGI. That was so laughable. Even back in the day, we knew that was like, this is not good. And I didn't bother with the Jade Emperor one, the third one. It had Jet Li in it. And replacing Rachel Ticotin. Just couldn't do it. Then there was that horrible reboot with Tom Cruise and a female mummy. And they was trying to start the Dark Universe. Like, what is this? This is not the Mummy. Some okay effects and ideas, but they were going to make Russell Crowe like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde as Nick Fury of the Dark Universe, like he'd show up in every movie. Oh well, lost opportunity. It could have been something. It would have been nice to see what could have gone further. But now Dark Universe is that Epic Universe, so if you want to see that, go ahead. Alright, now I'm just focusing on Maggot and inking him in. Mao, let's call him Mao. We're on a first name basis. So yeah. Are there any other mummy movies coming up the pipe? I'm not sure. There's been other ones. I never really saw the one Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. Didn't see that one, saw it. Don't know what it was like. There's been bunches of mummy movies. I remember seeing a TV movie, and all I remember is this woman was getting possessed or whatever, and she kept saying, "No mommy's tomb. No mommy's tomb." Instead of mummy, it sounded like she was saying mommy. No, she meant to say mummy. That's all I remember. If you guys know what that movie is, please let me know. Just one of those things that was on TV back in the day. The Fly, yes, I don't think I saw the original until maybe a few years ago. I always wanted to see The Fly. Yeah, it's kind of cheesy at times, but great concept. Really, such a simple concept. But, you know, the big, gigantic fly head and hand. And then the scientist's head and hand are on the actual fly. He's caught in the spider web. Help me, kill me. Then when they did the remake, directed by David Cronenberg, starring Jeff Goldblum. Whoa! That was some sick stuff. That him and the fly merged, and then slowly Jeff Goldblum started turning into a fly-like creature. Yuck. Great makeup. Yeah, as you can see, I changed positions of him completely. I may have cheated, and I posed. That was a flash of me. I took a picture of me posing in the position I wanted him and traced over it. That foreshortening with the hand was just driving me crazy, so I had to do it. It was the best thing I could do. Instead of him running at the camera, he's just pointing. Like saying, "Hey, bandages, let's take on Imhotep's army." And even these bandages I changed later on. I always have just like this one bandage for his eyes, because it would just seem kind of weird to have a bunch of bandages floating over there. But even this concept's going to change, but I have the bandages on their own layer. I labeled them stitches. That's where we're at. Going back to the fly. It's horrifying. And then there's this thing that he could spit up this stuff that will melt things. Oh, gross. Because that's how they eat their food. Wow, what a crazy idea. And of course he uses it on a human, and it's pretty gross. Now, I saw kind of at the corner of my eye, not really paying attention, it was somewhere I saw the Fly 2. Now, Eric Stoltz was the offspring of Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis's. So obviously he inherited some of this fly DNA, so he would eventually become this creature. And we get to see him shoot his little vomit into a person's face, melting it. Yay! Daphne Zuniga was the love interest. I don't know, I think something to do with a research facility. I don't know. Once was enough. So yeah, I do the stitches, bandages. I kind of want to go with the contours of the body to an extent, Because it's hard, you know, the bandage is going to be, how they're going to be wrapped around him. Obviously, when I draw him later on, it'll probably be different layouts. It's not going to be the same. And in all honesty, now that I think about it, I should have made the bandages way bigger. Well, I was just playing around with ideas and shapes, and obviously going outside the lines is okay. We can erase that later. But I did try to keep most things going with the contour of the body parts, for the most part. He does have these little, you know, gauntlet things and a belt and undies. That's it. Makes him makes him a very superheroic kind of type, right? Once you have undies, man, that commands attention, or something like that. So yeah, that's where we're going here. I will hope everyone else is doing it well and enjoying following along. I know my niece found me. Hi, Niecey, if you're watching this. I don't know if you want to follow along and draw this guy, but you're more than welcome to. These guys, what am I saying? This guy, there's these guys. There's more than one guy here. You gotta draw them together. And just kind of play around with this. It's like, how do you get the bandages going across his body from where they are? You gotta get like a long one going across the chest at an angle. But not only he can shoot out bandages to capture enemies, stop in their tracks, he can also shoot sand from his mouth. Pretty gross power, but the maggot doesn't shoot anything out of his mouth to melt things. He's a little slippery. He could get in and out of places very well. And he's got a little bit of a surprising super strength that might take people off guard. Just cool. Not bad. Yeah, this midsection proved a little challenging. Like, what do we do with all these bandages? Do they go across his abs? I didn't want him to go completely straight across. Maybe the more I think about it, it would have been a lot more simple to do it that way. Selah, as I say, Selah. Then I started doing these this way, but eventually I just found it better for them to go across. But this is how I'm doing it. I know this following along with me on this is probably frustrating for you because I do not stick with what I do here. Everything's a process. Just bear with me. I'm learning as I'm going too, because this is what art's about. You discover things as you're progressing. Alright, see, I changed around his mouth. It looked too busy. And then changed those bandages in the middle. It was just looking a little too busy by the face. I wanted to be able to see his eyes and his mouth. And I even going to add some little details. Of course, it's its own layer. Just the little things to just give you some accents. Because then it's just this flat thing, right? So adding just those little bit of elements, of course, brings your drawing more dimension. And just playing around with all these shading ideas, accentuating some stuff. In the dinner theater show we did, that I wrote, Halloween, Homecoming at Transylvania High, we had a mummy. We called him Stitch. Wasn't going to call him Imhotep or Karis. It just seemed like, yeah, let's call him Stitch. I had to have one of those in the show somehow. Didn't have many lines. He was just kind of there, but a necessity, you know. And then the shading I'm adding, it's going past the lines. That's okay. I'm going to erase that. But I wanted to have that shading over there. Some shading there. Where I think I'm at a 4. The brush size is 4. So it gives me a little more control over the details. Just wanted to add some shading there. There's got to be shadow there because that's the dark side of his body. And then his bracelet's going to be like a dark blue. but I'm just going to have this extra, these lines to accentuate it. How cool is that? Again, follow along. Do your own interpretation. Like, don't knock yourself and say, well, I can't draw like him. It doesn't matter. Just draw. Follow along. Do your own version of Mummy Man. It's okay. That's what we're here for. Just the act of drawing. As you can see, I got rid of his ab muscles and outlines. I just think it was just too distracting. I kept the chest muscle. That's because of a kind of important guide. But then just added these accentuated lines where the abs might land. Because it's all this bandage and just wanted to have some kind of something. Not just sit there. But the biceps got to have its little muscles here, of course. And right there, bracelet's going to be darker. Gauntlet, I should say. What, the Halloween Horror Nights that had the Mummy, had the Mummy, Wolfman, and Dracula was incredible. And the one I went at Universal Florida was set in Egypt. So the minute you walk in here, you're at a dig. And then you walk further into the excavation, and mummies being summoned back to life, and a bunch of mummies pop out at you. You're going through the catacombs. It even smelled like incense in there. Such a beautifully designed house. And of course, as you progress, you encounter the Wolfman and the Dracula. And a few times, well, I only went twice, right? Yeah. The first time I went, the Mummy won. Usually at the end of the house, either Dracula, the Mummy, or the Wolfman will win. And the first time I went, it was the Mummy. Holding the Wolfman's head. Yikes. Vicious, man. But he's a cool character, and Mummy Man is pretty cool too. He's a take charge kind of guy. And he's a team player. He doesn't possess the powers like Imhotep, but he has his bandages and his sand breath. And the Maggot is Maggot. And with him, I just kind of draw these like little accent lines on the side of him. If you've ever seen a Maggot, I mean, ugh. They're going to have these lines that go across their bodies. So I just kind of played with that, just adding these, but on the outside. I wouldn't want to make it go completely across. Now to make him somewhat kind of fun and relatable. My original drawing of him, his head and body are like one whole thing. I wanted to change it up. I wanted his head to be able to move around a little bit. I think it looks a little more relatable, for lack of a better word. There is no right or wrong, really, right? It's your character. You do what you want. Decide. There, I try to cross like, nah, I'm not digging that. Let's kind of just have it. A little shade under his chin. And then here we go. One side, and then we'll do the other side. There we go. Just give that illusion that these lines are kind of going across him. Where's his underwear? He doesn't need any. He's a maggot. Is that sexual? What? Maybe. He's got to be able to squirm in and out of places. But he's almost like Ant-Man. He can wallop you with a punch. Or a kick. It's almost the same strength as a full-size person. Cool. And I believe that is it. Look at that. I added a little background here, trying to make the sand a little bit. Maybe they're in a little sandstorm ready to go fight Imhotep and his cronies. So there you go. Mummy Man Karis, and Mao, the Maggot. The last of my Mighty Monster crew. Mighty Monsters. So yeah. Well, hope you enjoyed this video of drawing him. Remember, you can look at my other ones of all the characters I've done, and we'll see you next time on the artist always known as Alejandro. Thanks for watching, and until then, keep creating.